Hello everyone, and welcome. We're very glad to have you here on a channel where we explore curiosities, deep lore, and fascinating stories from the Lord of the Rings. Today's video is a documentary-style analysis of one of the most powerful and tragic civilizations ever imagined by J.R.R. Tolkien. The rise and fall of Númenor, the greatest kingdom of men, from the reign of Elros to the catastrophic downfall under A.R. Pharazôn. This video is designed as an analytical documentary, examining Númenor's history, culture, key figures, and ultimate fate within Tolkien's legendarium. Settle in, and let's journey together through the glory, ambition, and downfall of the Island of Kings. Númenor was raised from the sea as a gift of the Valar to the Edain, the fathers of men who had fought alongside the elves of Beleriand against Morgoth in the War of Wrath. It was meant to be a land of rest after unimaginable suffering, a reward for loyalty and endurance. At the dawn of the Second Age, the surviving Edain set sail from Middle-earth, guided by the elves, and over the course of 50 years, between 5,000 and 10,000 men, women, and children reached the island that would become their new home. The kingdom of Númenor was formally established in the year 32 of the Second Age, when Elros, son of Eärendil, brother of Elrond, and descendant of both elves and men, became its first king under the name Elros Tar Minitor. Under his reign, and those of his descendants, the Númenorians grew into the most advanced and powerful race of men the world had ever known. They were gifted with long life, wisdom, and skill, far surpassing other human peoples of Middle-earth in knowledge, craftsmanship, and learning. From early on, the Númenorians became masters of the sea. Their ships were unmatched, and in the year 600 of the Second Age, the first great voyages from Númenor reached the shores of Middle-earth. There, they taught agriculture, arts, and crafts to lesser peoples, often acting as benefactors rather than conquerors. Their friendship with the elves of Tol Eressëa and Lindon flourished, and for many centuries, Númenor stood as a bridge between elves and men. Yet even in this age of peace and prosperity, a shadow lingered. The Valar had placed a single prohibition upon the Númenorians. They were forbidden to sail westward beyond the sight of their own shores. The undying lands were not meant for mortal feet, and the Valar feared that men, seeing Aman, would grow restless with their mortality. At first, this ban was accepted without question, but as generations passed and death drew nearer, unease slowly took root in the hearts of the Númenorians, setting the stage for a tragedy yet to come. For many centuries, Númenor remained faithful to the Valar, and its friendship with the elves endured. The Númenorians aided Gil-galad in the War of the Elves and Sauron, which erupted after the forging of the Rings of Power, including the One Ring. During this conflict, King Tar Minastir sent great forces to Middle-earth, and together with the elves, they defeated Sauron and drove him back. At this time, Númenor stood at the height of its power, admired and feared across the western coasts. Yet prosperity carried the seed of discontent. As the Númenorians grew stronger, they began to envy the immortality of the elves. Death, once accepted as the gift of men, came to be seen as an injustice. Resentment toward the ban of the Valar slowly deepened, and many Númenorians turned their eyes eastward instead, seeking dominion in Middle-earth. At first, their settlements were welcomed, but over time they became rulers and tyrants, demanding tribute and obedience. Númenor built a vast coastal empire, unmatched by any other realm of men. Only a minority, known as the Faithful, remained loyal to the Valar and to Eru Ilúvatar, maintaining friendship with the elves. Most of these were associated with the lords of Andúni in the west of the island. Meanwhile, the kings and the majority of the people drifted further into pride and defiance. The Númenorians became mighty in arms and unmatched in horsemanship, believing that no power in Arda could truly oppose them. This arrogance reached its peak during the reign of A.R. Pharazôn, the 25th king of Númenor. When Sauron rose again in Middle-earth and declared himself king of men, A.R. Pharazôn sailed east with a host so vast that Sauron's armies fled at the mere sight of it. Sauron surrendered without resistance and was taken as a captive to Númenor. But this victory would prove hollow. In Númenor, Sauron soon became a trusted advisor to A.R. Pharazôn, presenting himself in a fair and noble form. With subtle words and calculated lies, he began to poison the hearts of the Númenorians, promising them immortality and sowing open rebellion against the Valar and Eru Ilúvatar, leading the island ever closer to its final doom. Once brought to Númenor, Sauron wasted no time in bending the will of the island's rulers. Though taken as a prisoner, he soon rose to become the chief counselor of A.R. Pharazôn, speaking with honeyed words and appearing in a form fair and noble, one he would never again be able to assume after these events. He played upon the deepest fears of the Númenorians, especially their terror of death, whispering that the Valar had deceived them and withheld immortality out of jealousy. Under Sauron's influence, the worship of Eru Ilúvatar was abandoned, and Melkor, the first Dark Lord and Sauron's former master, was openly proclaimed as the true giver of freedom and eternal life. At Ar-Pharazôn's command, a colossal temple was built in Armanelos, at the very heart of the city. There, human sacrifices were offered, and many of those slain were the faithful, who still remained loyal to the Valar. Fear and oppression spread across Númenor, and the White Tree Nimloth, which stood in the courts of the king and whose fate was bound to that of the royal line, was cut down and burned at Sauron's urging. Yet even in this darkness, courage endured. Isildur, son of Elendil, risked his life to steal a single fruit from Nimloth before its destruction. From that fruit would later come the White Tree of Gondor, preserving the legacy of Númenor beyond its fall. Still, the island itself stood on the brink of annihilation. Driven by fear of death and emboldened by Sauron's lies, Ar-Pharazôn prepared the greatest armada the world had ever seen. His goal was nothing less than open war against the Valar and the conquest of the Undying Lands, believing that by setting foot upon Aman, he could seize immortality for himself and his people. Sauron remained behind in Númenor, laughing at the folly of men, knowing the doom that awaited them. When Ar-Pharazôn landed upon the shores of the Undying Lands, the Valar laid down their guardianship of the world and called upon Eru Ilúvatar himself. Then came the cataclysm. The world was changed forever. Númenor was swallowed by the sea in the event known as the Akalabeth, and nearly all its people perished beneath the waves. The downfall of Númenor reshaped the world itself. When Eru Ilúvatar intervened, the Undying Lands were removed forever from the circles of the world, and the world, once flat, was made round. From that day forward, Aman could no longer be reached by mortal men, and only the elves, sailing the straight road in special ships, could pass beyond the bent seas. The power of the Valar remained, but the world had entered a new age, marked by loss and separation. The body of Sauron was destroyed in the cataclysm, crushed beneath the ruin of Númenor. Yet his spirit endured, for it was bound to the world through the One Ring. From that time on, however, he could no longer take a fair form, and his presence became one of terror and shadow alone. Though Númenor had fallen, its legacy was not entirely erased. Elendil, son of the Lord of the Faithful, had foreseen the coming disaster. Along with his sons, Isildur and Anarion, and their followers, he escaped the island before its destruction aboard 9 ships. Carried by storm and fate, they reached the shores of Middle-earth, becoming the last survivors of Númenor. There, they established new realms in exile, preserving the memory and culture of their lost homeland. Elendil founded the kingdom of Arnor in the north, while Isildur and Anarion jointly ruled Gondor in the south. These realms became the heirs of Númenor's wisdom, craftsmanship, and authority, standing as bulwarks against the growing darkness. The White Tree, grown from the fruit saved by Isildur, was planted in Gondor as a living symbol of continuity and hope. Though Númenor itself lay forever beneath the sea, its story did not end in utter ruin. The pride that led to its fall served as a warning, while the endurance of the faithful ensured that its noblest ideals lived on. From the ashes of the Island of Kings arose the kingdoms that would shape the fate of Middle-earth in the ages to come, standing against Sauron when he rose once more in the Third Age.